Thank you, Mataji, for the introduction. And dear friends and devotees, it's a pleasure to be here. This is my first trip to USA. I've been thinking of coming here for a long time, but there had to be a purpose and a meaning to come. And I think, so I'm going around to about 12 or 13 of our centers in USA, meeting our swamis and nuns and devotees. It's a sort of a scoping mission. I have an idea in my head that I want to toss out and use you people as a sounding board to see whether I'm on the right track or not. And of course, seeking out your support and feedback and cooperation and maybe participation in the project later on. But briefly, just to give an introduction about Fiji, okay, you might have seen the small dots in the map in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Some people think it's very small, like a football field, but actually it's quite big. There are 300 islands, a small population of about 0.8 million only. And we have the native Fijians and the Indians and the Muslims and different religions, their races. Our center was started in 1939 by Swami Rudrananji. In terms of activities, we have a high school close to a little bit more than 900 students, co-education, year 9 to year 13. We have a vocational training program for farmers. We go to the farms and teach them actually on the farms. We've got 103 farmers on the program. And we have a Sharda Medical Center, something in the name of Mother Sharda, where we provide free medical consultation, free nursing facilities, and free medications to about 400 patients every week. Apart from that, we have a lot of floods and cyclones, so we do a lot of relief work, and there are only 3 swamis, so it keeps us very much on our toes. I have 2 assistants, so this time I could get out and do a bit of traveling and work on this project. I have been there for 10 years. And as Mataji said, I am born Fijian. So that's a little bit about the normal activities, but we undertook a very interesting project in 2012. We didn't have a proper temple, so we decided to build one. But instead of making a traditional temple where regular worship of Sri Ramakrishna would happen, we thought differently. We said, why not worship the students that come to us, worship the God in them? So we built a universal meditation center. It's a very unique building. I would invite you to visit Fiji. I can give you some ideas. We can share a video link showing a documentary on that. But just like the Opera House, it's a unique building. The heritage architect of the Opera House was the main architect. And among the various features, we built in the philosophy of meditation into the architecture of the building. So, if I explained the architecture to you, I would have explained to you and given you a little bit of personal experience of what meditation is supposed to be like. But among other things, on 18th of February, when the sun rises on the horizon, on that one day in the year, and of course the other day on the equinox, the sun at 6:30 in the morning comes and falls on Sri Ramakrishna and worships him. So we got that right after 2 years of experimenting and all that, and that was a relief. On the shrine we have Sri Ramakrishna, Mother and Swamiji, and we have a beautiful photograph of a painting of Christ in the meditation posture. But what is unique about that center is that we have Islam, the religion of Islam, represented on the altar also. The only center in the Ramakrishna mission worldwide. And that's because among our students we have Hindus and Muslims and Christians. And when we are going to teach them meditation, we want all of them to feel at home as their place. But we don't teach it as a religious thing, a spiritual thing. It's more about developing the concentration of mind for the students and leading them. Later on they can use it whatever way they can. So it has been a very successful thing. It was a very expensive $2.2 million project, and we took a risk whether all the students would be using it, whether the parents would take to it, or what would be the response of the community. So we did a lot of homework and tried to get the local communities on board and got the approval of the headquarters. That was a challenge also, but we did nice presentation. But we are happy, and the headquarters is also very happy that daily, today, on a Monday morning, some 200 students, boys and girls of all denominations, will march in there in a very neat, orderly way and sit down, and I would take them through a guided meditation session, and they would sit down perfectly still for 15-20 minutes, focusing on the divine within themselves. You call them whatever you want. Some might be replacing the divine light with Christ or Muhammad or Shiva or Rama, Krishna. That's their free choice. But they're learning the art of restraining and controlling their mind. And that has been working out so well. So much so that after 2 years, some of them came to us and said, Swamiji, this meditation is good, but is there something more than this on focusing on the light within? And he said, yes, meditation is really a technique of discovering your true self, the divine inside you. And how do you do that? Or there are different techniques, but maybe you need some spiritual support. So normally we get initiated, we're given a mantra. These are powerful mystic formulae which help you to unfold remove the layers of ignorance in you. And I gave them an explanation. And I asked them, how many were interested? Unfortunately, it was towards the end of the year, when it was coming close to the board examinations. Some 50-60 of them showed interest. We gave them a form. You must get the approval of your parents. Of course, among them were the Christians and the Muslims also interested. That was a little bit of a surprise also. And out of that, finally, when we invited Swami Tadananda to visit us, he is the vice president of the mission. He came at that time. He was the general secretary who gave the permission. He came at the time of opening. We wanted to see him, what's the result of all that's happening there. So yes, there were 4 school teachers who wanted initiation, 16 students, out of which 10 were Hindus, 4 were Christians, and 2 were Muslims. And so I sent the list to Swami, these are your potential candidates. And he was scratching his head what mantra to give to the Muslim students and all that. Anyway, he did a lot of research and consultation with the President Maharaj and all that. But he came to Fiji and he said, okay, let me meet these students, at least the non-Hindu ones. So he met them personally and he was very happy afterwards. So I asked him why he's looking so cheerful. He said, they all want the mantra of Sri Ramakrishna, even the Islamic students. So he initiated them all. And if we had not taken up this project, if we had not taught them meditation or even brought spirituality to them in this way, if somebody came and said, is this possible? I would have said, maybe not possible. So, but to our surprise, all that's happening. Such is the magic of Sri Ramakrishna. He is the incarnation of the age. How he works through what channels, in what ways, we do not know. We can at best be instruments in his hands. So that is something very interesting happening. Come to Fiji. The rest you have to see for yourself, or in that little video that we will share with you. I've shared with Mataji. So some unique projects are happening in Fiji, and that's not happening even in India. And when Swamiji was in Fiji, we were going to New Zealand. There's a center that's almost ready for affiliation. We're talking about what type of activities can be there. So I asked him, what would be an ideal Vedanta center in this modern age? What would be the ideal? And he scratched, he said, okay, you tell us, what do you have in your mind? So I shared some ideas and I said, look, building up a center in the Western world is a very challenging thing. A lot of money is for the land, for the building, difficult to get swamis and monks from India and volunteers. And if you did very well over 10 years and paid it off at the cost of say maybe $7-8 million, if you had an audience on a Sunday for 100 people, you would say that's a very good, successful center. But it's a lot of investment for 100 people if you put it in a ratio. And then if you wanted to do another center in next town, you have to replicate the whole thing and it goes on. So the idea came, can we put something somewhere where everyone can access that Vedanta knowledge and wisdom, at least in the information stage, and then try to make a connection with the nearest center and swamis and nuns and all that. So we came up with an idea of putting a digital global Vedanta center, a in the sky, like a satellite, radiating, broadcasting. Swamiji used the word broadcasting the message of Vedanta if you read in the complete works. So I thought a satellite should broadcast, not a radio station. So with that idea, but focusing on a subject that is a topic or need that is sort of escalating and becoming worse every day, the mental health area. So some focus has to be there. I'm sure you all would have come across somebody somewhere known to you where somebody is suffering through depression, or there have been suicides and all those type of things. And sometimes we know that's happening, but we cannot help them. Actually, New Zealand, because I go there frequently, it has the world's highest rate of suicide among the youth. That's a beautiful country. No wars, no natural disasters, no problems there. So why would a young child decide to take the life even when they have not been really knocked around by the life itself? And New Zealand government spends $1.4 billion a year. Mostly it is trying to help those people who are in an advanced stage, psychiatric treatment and all those things. They have increased the budget to $1.8 billion. It's not working. Last year in December, they released a Commission of Inquiry report, and the problem is growing worse. 1 in every 4 person has some mental issue. The same is in Australia, and I think it's around the world. So I was at the headquarters, Belur Math, during the monks' conference, and I mentioned there, look, we are teaching Vedanta, mostly from a perspective of spiritual realization, freedom, mukti and all that. And here are these people who need that Vedanta, but maybe we are not delivering it to them the way they need it. After all, the Bhagavad Gita was taught to Arjuna, right in the first chapter, Arjun Vishad Yoga. Arjuna, who is depressed, confused, and Sri Krishna then gives him a nice dose of Vedanta. And that man who was all confused, wanting to run away from the battlefield, who was defeated even when no one has shot an arrow at him, now he is able to rebound and regather his balance and discharge one of the most difficult duties as a warrior. Can we not give that knowledge to our people, to the youth or whoever needs it, in a way that is acceptable to them, that is practicable to them? And I think that's a challenge in front of us. I don't think we need to only just take the Bhagavad Gita and take it verse by verse and give an exposition on it. I think we need to cook it in a way that the modern generation want it. If I said, can we take out 10 principles out of the Bhagavad Gita, essence, and we repackage it in a very simple, practical, applicable way, that a student or a housewife or some professional can take and say, that's good, it's nothing to do with religion, it's nothing to do with God, maybe they are a little agnostic to that also in the beginning, but I can take this, it empowers me, it gives me strength, I have a philosophy of life, and I can solve my own problem. So this Vedanta is really, if we understand Swamiji's teaching, is about self-empowerment. It's about making a subjective change, not trying to change the world outside there. And since this wonderful Atman is there inside all of us, full of purity, full of beauty, full of knowledge, strength, and all wonderful things that we can talk about, it's there. And if that is there, and so why should one be deprived of that knowledge and that strength? That means something is wrong in our training, in our education, or the way the society is structured. And this Vedanta knowledge needs to go out again, in a way. So that's a challenge which I said to our Swamiji, that we have to think in different ways and how we can make this teaching interesting and practical and reach out to the people so that they can have it anytime, anywhere, for anyone. They need not come to a center. Most people are far away, might not know even a center is there, or if they want to come, it's not possible. Can they have it on their smartphone, driving to work, listen to something, coming back, give them a small dose every day, and slowly, at least they have the concept right, and apply a little bit in their own life, and feel its power and energy and said, wow, there's something there. Then they go deeper. So that was some of the ideas, or some of the ideas I will be discussing. I'm discussing with our Swamis and nuns, and after that I have to go back and try to put together a proposal, and then invite people to come on board and see whoever can contribute in what way, be part of the whole thing. We all have to work together. Swamiji formed this mission for both the monastic and the lay members. It's not only the Swamis will preach, everyone has got a circle of influence where we can say something, share something with those, even in the family, within the extended family or the neighborhood, and you never know what a small word or some small teaching, what difference you can make in somebody's life. We can all be channels through which Sri Ramakrishna can work. So how do we make ourselves that channel? So I have been thinking some ideas, and today I would like to share some of that and bounce some thoughts with you. Okay, so I want it to be interactive. If possible, please don't feel shy. I'm sure you've been listening to a lot of lectures by Matajis and Swamijis for decades, maybe, some of the few. So me coming and telling any new, I don't think nothing new I will teach, but I would probably seek you to see how you can apply those things. So one of the salient teachings of Vedanta is deification of the world. Swamiji says in Practical Vedanta. He says, don't run away from the world, but see the world through a spiritual eyes, to see that behind the facade that is there, men, people, everything, there is a divine reality. And be aware of that presence and interact and react to the world in that. Normally when we are born as human beings, we see the world through our 5 sense organs. We are identified ourselves with the body, that's our and your mind, and your biodata and CV is all about the whole list of things regarding your body-mind complex. Who we are, we do not know, but that is our experience. Then there are others who went and dived deep into man, into the laboratory of their own mind, and researched and searched and discovered. And they have come back to report to us that behind this ordinary human being, there is something most wonderful and divine. They called it by different names, Atman, the soul, the self, but they all agree on one thing, that it is pure, it is perfect, it's ever free, it is of the nature of infinite knowledge, infinite existence, infinite bliss, and all those wonderful things that we hear about the Atman nature. That we don't have that experience. They had that experience. So they communicate those messages, those teachings to us through the scriptures, the Upanishad, the Gita, the Bible, the Quran, and all those things. And when we study and contemplate on that as a discipline, then we have a conceptual knowledge of something up there, deep inside. Initially God is somewhere out there, then we try to bring Him inside our own hearts. We try to have some idea. But those people who discovered it, they had an experiential knowledge of the truth. They experienced that Atman nature. And they invited us and challenged us and guided us and taught us the techniques how we too can have that particular experience. Religion is realization. It is not subscribing to some philosophy or some belief or something like that. I am a Hindu or Muslim or Christian. When I die, that label is of no value to me. But if those religious paths have helped me to unfold the divine in me, then they have been useful to me. So your being a Hindu or a Vedantin or whatever is not going to be of any value unless that religion has been able to uplift you from wherever you are to another higher level. Swami Vivekananda defined religion as that force which uplifts a brute into man and a man onto God. There has to be some elevation. So we can try to understand how we can take these teachings of Vedanta to help uplift people. When we read the Bhagavad Gita, after diagnosing Arjuna's problem, Sri Krishna teaches, Uddharet Atmana Atmanam Na Atmanam Asadayet Atmanneva Atmano Bandhu Atmanneva Ripuratmana. Lift yourself by yourself. Do not lower yourself. If you raise yourself, you become your own friend. If your mind lowers yourself, you become your own enemy. So it's about a subjective change. It's not trying to change the outside world. Vedanta is about self-empowerment. It's about awakening to that infinite potential that is in there, not only as an idea, but we must experience that power within us. So let us do a few sketches and drawings and analyze ourselves and analyze the world. Can you hear me? Am I loud enough? Do I need a mic? No. Good. Be careful not to trip this. Okay. So we start from where we are. Okay, the world that we know, and then we try to build up a framework how to look at ourselves, the universe that we see, and the one behind, and how we are interconnected, connected and interconnected. So the world that we know is, let us say it's down here, the physical world. In this we have a body, personally, and this outside all these objects, plants, trees, animals, and all beings that are there. That doesn't require too much explanation, we all have that experience. Then what behind that, subtler than this body, finer, is the, okay, let's call it body then. It's prana, energy. So I'm talking to you, I'm moving my hands, okay, it goes to this particular point. How does it move? Because there's energy in this body, there's vitality. If it is paralyzed or something, it can't go. Or if it is tired, it will not live. So energy is finer than the body. There's a formula in here, I'm trying to take you through that. The finer controls the grosser. It could be a huge elephant, but the energy inside the elephant makes it move. But behind that, finer than that, I'm drawing lines, but really there are no lines. It's one gradation. Okay? But it helps human beings to define things and classify, to understand things. So the mind is there. When I say I raise my hand there, there's a thought in my head, an idea that it should go there. That thought is translated into some nerve currents that makes the muscles contract in a particular way, and that is translated into a movement. So the mind being finer than the prana, mind controls the prana, prana controls the body. There's a formula. The finer controls the grosser. What controls the mind? So the mind is all types of thoughts and ideas and everything, but I don't simply move in a random way. I make a decision. It could be a sequence of activities that will make a particular work successful to me. So when we arrange that as a power of discrimination, that is called intellect or the buddhi. So we say there's an intelligent source, it's intelligent movement. Okay, and that is of course developed more or less in different types of people. In children it is less, in grown-ups supposed to be more, and of course among men they're all grades. Okay, so the wise, the dhira, the buddhiman are those in whom this power of discrimination is more awakened. And that behind that intelligence is something higher. Okay, so we call it that consciousness, let us say. And so this is the total man, so to say. All dimensions. We are mostly familiar with this one very well. 60 years old, 50 years old, I'm healthy, I'm a teacher or doctor, I know, I don't know, I'm happy and unhappy. These are all the characteristics of the mind and all that. Yes, this a little bit of discrimination faculty, I am sharp, I understand, all those things. But somewhere in the depths of us is a consciousness which we are not very well acquainted with. But that is our true nature, the essence, which is what the saints say. They say, this is of the nature of infinite existence, knowledge, bliss. And it is not only sitting there, but it percolates all the layers, even though I have drawn the layers. Okay, so the consciousness goes all the way down, but intelligence goes up to there, mind goes down there, and being the finer, it is pervading the grosser ones, and through within it sort of acts through. Now in this So this body is part of this ocean of matter. So if you look at the whole universe, there is matter everywhere, and matter is flowing through one form to the other. Yesterday it was in a plant, today it's in the human body, tomorrow it goes into something else. So it's in a constant flux. But a body, something, is where it is held together for a time being. It's like Swamiji says, Vivekananda says in his talk somewhere, it's like a whirlwind. It's a bundle of energy. It sucks in leaves and whatever is there, and is churning in constantly, it's drawing in fresh ones and it's tossing out the old ones. So if we see since the time we are born, we are taking in food, we are holding it for some time, cells are dying and new cells are being born, but it's not constant, it's moving. So this matter is flowing, and this body really doesn't belong to us, but it's in a constant change where matter is flowing through us. There's a constant flow of prana also. The energy that was in the sun is caught by the chlorophyll in a plant, is converted into starch, is eaten by some animal, or you eat it, and it has become part of that energy. You burn it and release it, and you do so much activity. So energy is flowing through that. Mind. The mind is also part of the cosmic mind, in which all types of ideas and thoughts are contained. And our mind is like one receiver and transmitter, where we receive constantly ideas from outside and we transmit. Right now I'm trying to transmit to you, and likewise in our communication, all that is happening. Swamiji says beautifully, he says this world is a world of influence, in which we are constantly trying to influence others, and we are also getting influenced, whether it's through TV or network or talking or reading a book or watching a movie. Constantly ideas are being taken out, and we churn it and we throw it out. Great souls have a tremendous capacity to charge those ideas, their ideas, in such a powerful way that even long after they're gone, those ideas will touch and inspire people. Ideas like Swamiji's book, you read his book and you get charged. He's not there, but the ideas are so powerful that they inspire. So body, mind, prana, mind, intelligence, of course, becomes a little subtler. This is where the ideas are even finer than that. And of course, the consciousness is the source of it. So if we asked somebody, in this ocean, cosmic matter, cosmic energy, cosmic mind, cosmic intelligence, cosmic consciousness, how would we demonstrate a human being? Because we are all some body, something, some entity. What would it be like? So we are a body, we all know. We are a prana, we are some mind, some intelligence and consciousness. Can we put something like that? That a particular individual has a body, I am a body, and I have got some energy, I am a mind, some intelligence, and at the deep inside us there is a consciousness. Looks all right? Yes?
Yeah.
How many think it's good? How many disagree? Something's wrong.
In one sense, you could actually turn it upside down.
Why would you turn it upside down?
Because consciousness is the source and permeates
Yes, it's
all
a
levels.
tree upside down. Urdhva mula madhasya. So really, here if I try to explain to you about death, about reincarnation, it's very, very complicated because this is your core being. But normally we are centered in the body ideas, so very natural that we will conceive ourselves to be such. But really, all of us are spiritual beings having a human experience. So our root is up here. So it's this way. Okay, that's trying to rectify our conception of ourselves that we are spiritual beings and not spiritual beings having a human experience. Keep that formula in mind. Okay. So in this, there is this, our essence, core, the foundation. Even though we become or experience ourselves as human beings, we never deviate from this particular point. That is our anchor. But it's like a rubber band. Okay, you take a rubber band and you pull it down, and how far you want to pull it down. And when you pull it down, you get, what do you get? You get an I sense, isn't it? I am. The bigger you pull it, the bigger is the ego. Okay, so this is our anchor. That doesn't change. That's our substratum. But we do not know. That's not our point of experience. This I here, small I will say, that is our experiential I. So right now, I'm moving, I'm talking, I'm experiencing myself as that there. Okay. The scriptures say that really we are that. This is the real man. We are experiencing ourselves, that is the apparent man. And Swamiji's talk is, one lecture is there, if you read from that perspective, it is there. So, we find that when we are here, this I sense is experiencing at that level, across. Okay, and how does it do that? There are 5 sense organs, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin, and we get the information from the outside world through these 5 senses, and the mind decodes it, and we are informed, and we react with this world. And this state is called a waking state. When we are awake, this physical world is available to us. But it's not the case all the time. When you go to sleep, then somebody's eye consciousness moves a little higher, somewhere up, they may be there. That is the locus at that point. So at that time, person, so this is a I awake and I dream. So in the dream world, this I sense is not functioning through the 5 sense organs because it's disconnected from that particular point of frequency, so to say. An easier way to understand is, let us imagine that in this place there are so many TV channels. Alright? And I get a TV and I switch it on and I tune it to a particular frequency. Okay, what is Santa Barbara or TV LA, whatever is there. So when the frequency is tuned, the TV is tuned to a particular frequency, you get that one signal, channel on the screen. And when you change it to another frequency, the first one disappears and the second one appears. When you change it to another frequency, that one disappears and the third one appears. What you see depends the frequency you are tuned to. I want you to remember that. So what we experience at any time depends on the mental frequency, we can say, or the mental plane that we are tuned to. So if we are tuned to the physical plane, then the physical world is our TV screen, so to say, and we are seeing the whole thing. When we tune it slightly higher toward another plane, then this physical TV station disappears. It's there for others who are tuned to it, but for the dreamer, he changes and he creates his dream TV, in which he is dreaming and he has got a dream identity and the world around him is a dream world, but for him at that time that is real. Maybe when he wakes up and he says, discards it, it was just a dream, but while dreaming, that is real. And it might go even deeper and say, deep sleep. In deep sleep, what happens? We have absolutely very little or no idea of what we are. Male, female, young, old, whatever our profession, rich, poor, everything is gone. Some small semblance of I am there. Only when you wake up, you feel I slept well, that much. And those are our 3 experiences. You can't just say, this is my only experience and the others are false. If one is false, then all can be false also. Yet we shuttle between these 3 states of consciousness in our everyday. When you go to sleep, waking state or deep sleep. And it does not happen by our control. We simply go to sleep. We don't will and say, I'm going to dream or I'm going to go into deep sleep. Even though we want, but it happens without your control. The sages say that, look, that's fine, but we can, through proper training, elevate ourselves, our mind to an even higher plane of consciousness, the 4th one, relative to the 3, which is called the Turiya state, in which we experience ourselves as pure consciousness. And in that state, we become the Buddha, the enlightened one, enlightened about our true spiritual nature. So, this gives a little bit of anatomy of of spiritual anatomy of a human being, that there is this ocean of consciousness and intelligence and mind, and we are a little whirlpool inside that. Deep inside is that infinite consciousness, which is the source that nourishes everything. So the intelligence that we feel here, somebody feels, it is this intelligence percolating through all these layers of our being. And these three are made out of the three gunas, sattva, raja, and tama. And if we are pure, then light shines more. Where there's too much tamas, less light shines. It's not that one has got a big Atman, another one has got a small Atman. They have the same Atman, but somewhere the manifestation of that consciousness is more, somewhere it's less, just like in this room. And this is now at 110 volts. This is the American system. So there's 110 volt power running through the wires. But if I put a 40 watt bulb, I get certain amount of light. If I put a 60 watt bulb or 100 watt bulb or 1000 watt bulb, the amount of light that will manifest will depend on the capacity of the bulb to manifest. Likewise, the same Atman runs through all of us. The difference in the manifestation of their power in terms of energy or intelligence or whatever depends on the purity of our body-mind complex. In a saint like Sri Ramakrishna, Buddha, or Christ, they had purified their whole body and mind into an absolutely sattvic, pure element, and you could see an abundance of that expression of the divine qualities. In others, it's there in us, but it's not so much manifest. So somebody in here, so this is our situation, all right? And it's a big enough problem because, you see, this is our source. With a lot of effort, it's like a rubber band. You drag it down and hold it there. And I want to continue living in this world, so nature is trying to knock us down, hunger, disease, and climate and everything. We fight back with nature, with food and medicine and old age and kidney plant and dialysis and all those type of things, because we think we are this and at any cost I should continue my existence there. We are ignorant of our true nature, and whatever we feel to be real, we'll hold on to that. Okay, so that's how we try to continue living and want to be happy here. Everyone should be happy. Yeah, and no one wants to be unhappy, you see. And it's very interesting. I've been listening to some talks on Vedanta where they say how Vedanta can help us be happy here and successful all the time. How can you be happy without unhappiness, you know? But I think they're trying to drag down Vedanta for something that's not real. Yes, it can make you happy, but happiness is here, not down here. So, and then that's a problem because we have this identification with this body, with our big CB and biodata and everything. Then we link ourselves to other things around, other bodies. One body is problematic enough. And then we want to replicate that body and have all these kids in all that. Or possess another body and have family members and link them to the whole world. There's nothing wrong with them, but we do it sideways. It should be through the self, through the Atman, not across. Okay, we'll come to that. So here is I and this is mine. So it goes out and links, develops attachment, and Sri Ramakrishna says, Maya is Ami, Amar, I and mine. This sense of I related to this body-mind complex, and then entangling ourselves with the things of the world, and we bind ourselves there and we think this is the way to be, and may I remain happy there, and I would like to come back here, minus all the sufferings. If that can be possible, that would be our idea for heaven, all of those things. But it's not possible, because we are infinite knowledge, existence, knowledge, bliss here, not here. This is part of Jagat. Jagat means that which is constantly changing. So you can't have permanent happiness. You can have a little bit, but it disappears. Eat a rasgulla, it's nice and tasty, but it goes down the throat, the taste goes away. You put another one thinking that the rasgulla is giving you happy. Really, it's not the rasgulla that's giving you happiness, because happiness is inside you, rasgulla is bringing it out for you. When you take too many, then it's not happy. Then you have indigestion and all other problems, isn't it? So that which was giving you happiness in the beginning has suddenly become a source of real problem for you. So happiness is not in there. It's like a dog. You give it a bone, it bites and chews on it. and the sharp bones, maybe it cuts its mouth and it bleeds and it tastes the blood and says, wow, this bone is really tasty. Actually, the blood did not come from the bone, it came from itself. Likewise, we are given many bones to chew, and we think those outside things are really making us happy. Oh, giving is the source of happiness or joy, but that is all inside. So, what Vedanta is trying to do is give an enlightened understanding of things as they really are. That really, whatever we are seeking for in the outside world, it's not there. Happiness that we are seeking is within us. Knowledge that we are seeking is within us. Infinite existence that we want to be holding to there. Really, we are infinite, immortal as a spirit, but we can never be immortal as the body. We see in the Puranas when some asuras, they do a lot of tapasya, Ravana and all that, when Brahmaji or Vishnu comes to him and asks them for a boon, they say, I would like to live forever. I want to be immortal. Immortal as the body. So they try to scheme and find all ways where no one can kill them, this can't kill me, this can't kill me. Some loophole is left and that finishes them off. But real immortality is of this. Deep inside we know that we are immortal, we are full of knowledge, we are full of bliss. But we do not know where and how we are. So we try to make an effort to express those things in here. Something infinite in finite things. Something permanent in impermanent things. Something unlimited in limited things. And logic says that is not possible. So the jiva keeps on trying. Maybe this lifetime, maybe another lifetime, maybe 100 lifetimes. And it learns one lesson from all this knocking around the universe. And what is that? So he comes, all sincerity tries to live for 50 years, 100 years, 120 years, but he dies and goes away. He comes here and tries to be happy throughout his life. It doesn't happen, he fails. And he tries to know everything, but he hardly knows anything. So he comes again in another lifetime. Thinks I'll do it better this time. Doesn't happen. He comes 50 times, 100 times, 1,000 times. At some point, somewhere he'll become wiser. Okay. And depends on how thick the skin is. If it's very thick, then too much beating is necessary. But if very fine, they can pick it earlier. So what would be the lesson that we are supposed to learn even through all our sufferings and everything? Yes?
That happiness can't be found out in the relative world.
It can't be found there.
Not permanent.
Not permanently. A little bit you get,
Yeah.
what's in there.
A
So
taste.
Swamiji says beautifully, the only lesson we learn from all this knocking around the universe is that all this is a humbug, nothing but a humbug. Okay? And he says, but few, very few will ever understand this. That realization, that awareness, that dawning of that wisdom, that my search is good, but where I am seeking for, that is not very smart. Okay? That is the U-turn, that's the crucial point. That's the beginning of true spirituality. The beginning was pravritti, let me go out and see what I can gather from this world and make myself happy or live forever. When that knowledge dawns, he says, I'm not going to go out there anymore, I'm going to go in. It's like somebody who is driving out into the desert and sees a beautiful oasis, beautiful trees and lake. It's a hot day, I want to go and have a dip and swim and refresh myself. So he drives, it looks like 10 kilometers, 10 miles US, 10 miles out there. And then after half an hour he still sees 10 miles. Another half an hour, still it is 10 miles. And then it clicks to him. It's not there, I'm seeing it, but it's not there. Oh my God, that must be a mirage. The moment he comes to that realization that it is not there, he can't be driving with the same enthusiasm in this world. Okay, then he says, it's not there, let me turn around. Likewise, the jiva has to come to that realization that this world is a mirage. There's a semblance of happiness, semblance of life, semblance of knowledge there, but it's not out there, it's inside me. And when he comes to that conclusion and that realization, then that outward effort is checked, and what he can do? What can he do? He has to go back, and that return journey is called nivritti. Go back, go home, go within. So, but such is the charm of the Lord's Maya, that this mirage looks beautiful. And we do not know that the real one whom we are seeking for is inside us, not out there. It's like the sun. It shines its beautiful light, and it shines on a planet, the moon, and it looks at the moon. It's beautiful. It's beautiful, and it falls in love with the moon. Such a beautiful moon. Little does it know its own light that is being reflected by the moon. What is attractive is that light. The moon is only a reflector. Likewise, there is something very nice and profound inside us. It shines out through these eyes and ears and through the sense organs. It bounces off various things. Various things are various reflectors. And if they reflect that light to us nicely, we are impressed. That's beautiful. That person is wonderful. And all that, so loving and kind and this. But all that we are seeking for is inside. And that's why in the Upanishad, Sage Yajnavalkya is explaining to his wife Maitri that the husband loves the wife not for the sake of the wife, but for the sake of the Atman that is inside. That Atman, that consciousness is the source of that affection. It is the Bhati, Asti Bhati Priyam, the adorable entity in there. So that Atman is present in all of us. But the source of attraction is not the physical or mental part of it, but the soul that is present inside that. So that's how we should try to establish the relationship between people and people, not at a physical level, but through a spiritual relationship, that God resides in that particular person, and I'm attracted to the divine in that person, not that person. The word person has a very interesting origin. Yesterday I was looking at a dictionary that was in the veranda of our Hollywood ashrama. Person, first definition, means a mask. A mask in the olden days that was put by artists or in a drama or something to depict a character, hide the real one and depict another one. So that's how the word person comes. We are not the reality. Outside is the facade, the mask. The real one is inside. And that is hiding. That is pure, that is perfect. But its power, its knowledge, its beauty, its glory shines through matter. Somewhere more, somewhere less. In a Buddha and a Christ, it shines in all its glory and abundance. In us, it is less. But in all of us, it's the same one. That's a very powerful message of Vedanta. We are not sinners. We are divine beings. Only some of us are trying to consciously manifest that more. Others maybe are not. Some are trying to make a conscious effort to integrate themselves with the higher consciousness that's within themselves. Others in ignorance are constantly trying to possess the world, enjoy the world, not knowing that they are getting possessed by the world, that they are getting enjoyed by the world. Isn't it? People have 10 cars and 20 houses, something. I've got so many possessions. They know that they are already possessed by other things because any change on them makes them react. So it's another way, interesting way of looking at the world. So we are talking about mental health. Alright. So somebody is there who is not so happy. And the moment somebody is found not to be so happy, immediately the parents will think he needs to go and see a psychiatrist who throws a few stones in the deep well of the mind, and he listens and he says, I think it's 20 feet deep, or that's what happens when a psychiatrist asks few questions in there and gets a few responses, and he tries to sum up the content of the mind that is deep in there. The samskaras, the previous life's experience, everything is there. And immediately he can't understand much, so he gives you something to suppress. You take this medicine and dull that person even more. That type of treatment does not really help that person. Maybe in an extreme case it sort of settles him down, calms him down, but really the Vedantic way would be, how can I empower that person with an inner strength and knowledge so that he can or she can solve their own problem. So, and this is what I had been trying to think, what could be a formula with which we can take this across to people. So, Vedanta is talking about, or Swamiji says, Vedanta is about awakening that inner strength. Strength is life, weakness is death. Physical strength, mental strength, emotional strength, moral and ethical strength, and spiritual strength. All these dimensions of our personality have to be strengthened. The source of strength should not come from outside but from within, because the Atman is the powerhouse, the source of everything. How we can draw that energy, that power through various levels of our personality, nourish them and strengthen ourselves, that would be the Vedantic approach to being healthy. Those who know Hindi, if somebody, know Hindi? Okay, so in Hindi, somebody will ask, how are you? Are you healthy? The word is swastha, how's your swasth? And people would say, thinking of the physical health, I'm keeping well, I'm fine, thank you. But the word swasth means swastha. Swa means yourself, stha means to be established in. The question being asked is, are you established in your true self? Very profound question. It's asking, are you aware of your divine nature? And is that energy percolating through all your layers of your being? And is it nourishing your body and the mind and the intellect? And in a Vedantic approach, if we were to help somebody, we would try to guide them through some technique and practice and exercise by which they can become first aware of the spiritual essence. That education part has to be given. It will be conceptual ideas, but concepts in the head, not an experience. And the second part, so that's good. At least I'm not a miserable being tossed around by life, whichever way kicked around. No, within me there is all that I need, and that's a great relief to me. But that's not good enough. I must now experience that. So what training can be given to them by which they can actually feel that power within themselves? They can feel that energy. Just like if you're tired and somebody gives you some food, you eat it and you feel that energy inside you. Now I'm full of energy. Likewise, spiritual food, can it give you that inner spiritual strength? And all that has to be given to people without all this very complicated ideas about religion and spirituality. If it can be possible, then it will be universal. Otherwise, somebody is a Christian and a Muslim or an atheist or a Chinese who doesn't believe in things, but they still need this knowledge because this is universal knowledge. It has nothing to do with some God or some faith or tradition. It's about man and the infinite power in man. So when we deliver it to them, it has to be very, very universal, agnostic. So all those will be the challenges. How do we do that? So this morning I was discussing with Mataji, and I'll share that with you. Okay, so how are we running for time? Thanks. So, if we say the purpose is to make everyone strong in all dimensions of our being, right? So, let's start with what we know, physical strength. Okay, if I ask somebody, how would you make yourself very strong? People would say, I will go to a gymnasium and go through a program under the supervision of an expert teacher or somebody, and I'll do a lot of exercises. But just doing exercises will make you very tired. You require some good nutrition, good food, exercises done in a proper way, and after some time you will see the muscles start popping up here and there. Those muscles did not come from outside. They came from inside, but the exercise was necessary to manifest. So we have a formula. Okay, physical exercise plus food equals strength physical, and we all know that we can do that. But then there are other dimensions of our being also. We are, say, emotional beings. I leave that there for the time being. We are intellectual beings. We are moral and ethical beings, and we are spiritual beings. So at the intellectual level, going to school, we want to develop this intellect in a systematic way by which we can study the world, understand it, learn how to manipulate it to our advantage, and that's all what science and all this education is all about. So the subject matter of chemistry, maths, physics is all systematically classified into various subjects, and then they are graded into year 1 to year, and there are chapters. And guess what? At the end of the chapters, there's something called exercises. And there's sometimes a book called an exercise book in which you do those exercises. So here we have a formula also. And if you do that sincerely, then you become intellectually very strong. A good scientist who is able to understand things very rationally and solve the problems of the world, or whatever they're trying to do. So at the intellectual level, we have food for the mind, ideas and thoughts, whatever subject matter that has been discovered by scientists and presented to us in a way, plus exercises, all those solving the problems and all those type of things. So exercises of the mind gives you strength, mental strength. So good scientists, good professionals will have this capacity when they put themselves through a discipline of a good education system and a good training in a particular subject matter which gives them knowledge of accounting or engineering or medicine. They become experts in that. And for spiritual, if you go to a spiritual teacher and say, I want to become spiritually strong, he says, same formula. He gives you lots of food, spiritual food, which are the teachings about from the Vedanta, the Upanishads and the Gita about your true nature, what we are discovering. So if you say that is food, spiritual plus spiritual exercises, what would that be? Japa and meditation and seva and all those type of things you will do sincerely for a long time. What happens? It purifies the mind and the inner light shines through and you become strong spiritually. These type of things are available to us. This is very common. All yoga and exercise and a lot of facilities are there. Education system and all those things are there, very well developed. Those who need these things are also there and spiritual, if you're those who are seeking for that. But if I ask, what is there in our education system or in our life or in our family and community where will make us emotionally strong? Emotionally strong so that some small ideas doesn't knock us off. Whether it's a relationship problem or you set up a goal that I should get 95% marks and if I don't get that, then I become, so distraught or people do crazy things. Or how is that part of our personality being nurtured? Is there any systematic training? Did you have? I did not have. If you had a tough life, that itself made you strong because you had to go through the ground. You didn't like it, but that brought out the fire, whatever was within. Some people have it too easy, too soft, and therefore more of a jellyfish emotionally, and small things will knock them off. And moral and ethical, if good training is there in the community or good values in the family, then they guide you in the path of righteousness and you have a value system that prevents you from doing things which should not be done. Because if you end up doing that, then your conscience troubles you and all those type of things later on become problems. So we can see, I feel, I've been talking to people, I do not know, do you think we have something there at the emotional level? Some proper systematic training in our education system or life? No. So we have a problem there. What about this one? Moral and ethical, little bit there. Can't say it's not there at all, but it's not part of your regular training that's available to everyone. Now these two gaps are there. And that's our weak points. We are vulnerable. And to somebody who is not so strong here, we give them an overdose of spirituality, of Vedanta, of liberation and mukti and this and that. The tools that he requires to ascend to that is not ready yet. So Vedanta would not make the seeds of Vedanta, even though they might like it, but it's not ready for that. So Swami Vivekananda said, religion is not for those who are on empty stomach. Give them food and all those things here. But also religion is not for those who are mentally not in the right frame of mind. And therefore, it is important that we attend and find out and find ways how to do this part also. Here also it's not very good, even though it's education, I would not give it 2 marks, because it's all about, just very little about learning the art of controlling the mind. It's all about accumulating information, but maybe not processing the information is there. So we have a lot of knowledge, but that knowledge is not transformed into wisdom. How do we do that? So something also has to be there, taught the art of developing the concentration of mind. So we have a problem. What's the solution? So it's not a really spiritual type of thing. It's a very, I think it's a little logical way. You know, I don't expect a solution, but if you think at least, what can we do? But remember that we have a formula. Okay, food plus exercise giving us strength. Food, exercise, strength. Food, exercise, strength. Can we develop something there on that formula, where we say, these are the food and these are the exercises, and if you do that, it will develop your emotional strength or moral and ethical strength. And if we can do that, then we have got a holistic health of a person. He's healthy in all things. Yes, some ideas.
Well, emotionally, I would say if people stopped watching so much TV and were not on their smartphones all the time, that would be a beginning. But mainly exposing people to love. So I think when people are exposed to authentic, genuine love on a regular basis, a lot of emotional problems start to dissipate some and even out. Because people feel valued, and that love is so powerful. I mean, so many people have equated God with love.
So I want that formula. Where is your food for that emotion? Where is the exercise? We put in there.
I think one of the exercises would be listening.
Listening.
Compassionate listening, and skills in communication.
Good. And there's so many others here. Yes.
Connection.
Connection.
Feeling a sense of connection with others, which would also be a sense of connection with your higher self.
Okay, so that is a good one. Because love is a feeling of oneness, but not a physical oneness. There's a spiritual oneness that is trying to manifest at a physical level. The source is the spiritual. But when we misplace it on a physical level, I love somebody, somebody is beautiful, or somebody is a loving personality and all that, and so long that inner ideal that we have within is being reflected by that person, then that person is very loving to me. But if that person changes, then you don't like that person anymore. Okay, so across the line if we go, then it's a problem. But if we connect through the spiritual source, where we are really interconnected and we are really one, then we are on a firm ground, isn't it? So we want to bring that idea of that oneness, that interconnectedness, but a spiritual interconnectedness, not a physical interconnectedness, not a mental connectedness. Yeah. And if we are on that, if we can teach our children, teach our people, that whatever is appearing, loving, its root is much deeper than the physical. Do not put all your, what you call, eggs in a basket, or don't misplace your love on a physical thing, because that person whom you get married to is the most wonderful person. On the day you get married can be something very different after some time. So what happened? The person is person, but something happened and we had, whose fault is there? We blame that person. But the problem is with us, we made the mistake of misplacing it. So requires education, isn't it? So we'll find when you talk about this mental health problems, people talk about problems. The word comes problems. That's a problem there, there's a student who's bullying, or my boss is not good, or there's pressure out there and this and that. We are very ready to blame others. Vedanta says that's not the way. When you try to offload your problems to others, that's trying to escape the problem. The solution is to empower yourself and develop your inner capacity so that outside things could not disturb you. Like, we have an immune system. A doctor is working in a hospital. If his immune system goes down, then so many viruses and bacteria can knock him off. But so long his immune system is good, he's fine. So long we are mentally strong inside, whatever other people say will not disturb us. Otherwise, somebody praises you and we become very, very happy. Somebody criticizes you when we go down. In other words, to be very, very brutally frank, we are slaves of another person's nice word or criticism. That's not a very nice way to live. But you'll find that that's how our society is. We have disempowered ourselves, that our sense of value is nothing to do with our inner essence, but how does the society perceive us? It's all advertising, Do the people invite me, they love me, they appreciate me, they recognize me, and we go out of all our ways to be good in the eyes of the society. Yes, one moment they'll praise you, next moment they'll bring you down. You go high as the Humpty Dumpty and you come down as fast. And that's how it is. Why? Because we have disempowered ourselves by surrendering our value of what we are into the hands of others, and then next moment we are dancing up and down according to how the society is making us done. And that's how our education system wants us to do, isn't it? This is a defect in our education system, if you want to think. So if we empowered ourselves and taught our children that within you is all that you are, beautiful, goodness, purity, all excellence are within you. Whether the world appreciates or not, that should not make a difference to you. Can we give them that center of gravity within and not outside? You have that Japanese doll, you try to make it fall down, it doesn't fall down, it comes up. Have you seen that one? And those who know physics will tell that is possible because its center of gravity is so close to the surface that it cannot be made to fall down. Its center of gravity is not outside us. But we human beings, where is our center of gravity? Maybe the center of gravity is on a position that I hold, or how the society looks upon us, or what's the money in my bank account. Come closer, it's on my beauty or physical health. I'm a bodybuilder or some beautiful person. Or it could be a center of gravity on your mental level. I'm a doctor, an engineer, and intelligent and all those type of things. Or it could be deeper on your spiritual level. Those whose center of gravity is in their spiritual essence, swastha, are you established in your spiritual nature? They cannot be knocked around. So one of the principles of mental health or health in all aspects would be, how do we integrate ourselves to our deeper sense? To the extent we can do that, to that extent we are more stable and less vulnerable to what the outside world can do to you. Would that be a formula, a principle that can, how we apply it is, this is the principle. How it can be applied is to be worked out in different people's life according to their capacity and station and all those things. But we can discover some formulas and principles, and we try to design methods, the exercises by which that power can be awakened. So we will not say there are problems. If we see something knocking around that is trying to give me a feedback that I'm not really strong, that I need to reconnect myself, that I don't need to blame that person out there, that I will try to make myself so strong that whatever they say is not going to knock me and affect me. That will make me strong. And if we can train our children and youth and people that within us is that infinite power to do that. But your approach would be not trying to fight those people, the bully and the criticisms of people and all those things. Our approach would be to empower ourselves with that sense of value and worth, that my opinion and my value of myself is not dependent on what others say to me. I'm not going to be a slave of the society. I know it's not easy, but that would be the Vedantic way of making a subjective change, not trying to change the world, but to change ourselves. So all the Vedanta and all that you've been listening, it has to be put into practice in this way. Any Vedanta makes you strong so that the world does not disturb you so much as last year or something. You feel grounded in your own self. What people say is not really disturbing you, touching you. Then that Vedanta has that uplifting effect. Okay, listen to lectures and we try to put into practice, but how do we mainstream this into an education system so that it can go out to their people? That would be a wonderful thing to do, and that could be a wonderful contribution of Vedanta to the world, isn't it? So Those are some of the challenges still in front of us. Not to see problems out there. That's another thing. People say there are problems. I don't think the world is full of problems. Anything with the right outlook can be changed into an opportunity. How we perceive it. If we said, take Swamiji's idea, that we need exercises. Swami Vivekananda said this world is a gymnasium where we have come to do exercises to make ourselves strong. Plant that idea. And when you go to a gymnasium and you do all these exercises, the exercises are not fun. They're painful. You come back, it's all aching all over the place, but you go there next day again, even though it was painful. Why? Because you know that deep inside, that pain will become less and less as you become stronger and stronger. Maybe the first day you went and started to do 10 kgs of dumbbell and did it 50 times, you come back all stiff and painful. But you don't give up, you keep on going there, and after 1 month you have become strong that same exercise is not so painful. Why? Because I have become stronger and I'm becoming less affected by that. So if we look upon this world and whatever life throws at us as exercises, and I will pit myself against that with the understanding that I want to become stronger. And this exercise will make me stronger. And therefore I don't see them as problems, but I see them as opportunities. And I know that within me is the power to overcome them. Because we can't change the world, but we can change our perspective and how we approach the world. And if we think that out of this pain will come some good, and that goodness is that inner strength, and I want that strength, then I'm happy to go through the gymnasium of life with all those problems. It's about changing that outlook. So Vedanta gives you a new perspective of looking at things where we don't say the problems out there. So when somebody says something which is not incharitable, that makes you little feel bad, you don't say that's a bad person. You say, okay, that's a good feedback. One word from that person has unsettled me. I'm not really so strong. Let me do something about me inside, so that next time no one can answer. That would be the Vedantic approach. The other approach would be, that's a bad person, I'm not going to talk to them. You see, and we blame this person and that person. How do we put those fundamental principles into the thinking of children and people around us? That would be empowering them. Let them discover their strength. You can't make them strength. You can't do that exercise for them. They will have to do the exercise, but we can prepare the gymnasium, we can be the instructor, we can give them the guidance. But if we are overly protective, then sooner or later somebody will knock them off. Okay, so that is another principle. We can say it's about a subjective change, not trying to change the world, not trying to blame the world. And philosophically, it's very interesting. When we say someone is bad, okay, is it really that person is bad? Psychologically, what do we see? Okay, so here is you go. I see Mr. X, I do not know. I ask somebody to introduce that person, and that person doesn't like that person, Mr. X. So that person tells me all negative things about Mr. X, and I have not met him. Already so many ideas have been put in my mind with respect to Mr. X, and when I meet somebody or somebody asks, do you know him? Yes, I know him, and I rattle off all those things that I have been told, and I think I know him. Do I know him? No. What I know is the content of my mind with respect to that person, not that person. Shall I go through that again? So regarding anything, we do not know. X, Swamiji says, the outside world is unknown and unknowable. X plus the mind is what we know. That mind is within inside us. And that could be conditioned because of our upbringing, because of the information that is given, right or wrong, whatever. And that is what we carry in our head. So knowing somebody or something is really storing so much information about that person inside our head. When I say I know that person, I should more accurately be saying, I know the content of my mind with respect to that person. And if I am seeing something wrong, that wrong thing is in my head, not there. And this is where I can rectify it. I can rectify it by getting the right information. I can say, even from a spiritual point of view, every man is full of defects, mental, but deep within them they are all a spiritual being. Some are manifesting more of that perfection, some are less. Okay. And if they have done something wrong in ignorance, let me forgive them. But let me not carry that in my head. Let me have a positive view of everyone. But I am going to work within my mind, not outside. So again, that is a subjective approach. And if we train ourselves in that, then such a person doesn't go around blaming anyone. He is not whinging and grumbling and complaining. It becomes a habit. People complain about everything. If nothing, they'll complain about the weather. Yeah. So that type of mind trying to lay the blame outside disempowers itself. The Vedantic approach would be trying to make that subjective change inside. And that would be the spiritual approach. And that will purify the mind. As the mind becomes purified, the inner light shines more and we feel ourselves empowered. So there's another little approach in there. Not to look upon problems as problems, but try to see them as opportunities which we through and exercises through which the inner strength inside will unfold. Therefore, let the world throw whatever it can to us, and we will try to respond to it. That would be a Vedantic application of a teaching. Okay. The other one we talked about, always being mindful that the problem is not out there, the problem is within us. Okay. And therefore, and since it's within us, we can do something about it. Because we can't go and change the people in their views and what they do, but definitely I can do that within myself. Thirdly, the positive idea of Vedanta, that within us is that infinite Atman. Infinitely powerful. And why should we whinge and grumble? Let's be positive and try to connect ourselves. And draw as much as possible to that infinite source that is within us. Let it nourish us intellectually, mentally, physically. And if we can do that, then we are healthy, we are strong, and the outside world cannot touch us. We have not talked about God. We have not talked about the Atman also. We have talked about man, what it is, how he is connected, what is his true nature, and how he is interconnected with the world, and how this knowledge, this power can be harnessed to empower himself. It's all about self-empowerment. It can be taught to somebody who is a Hindu, who is a Christian, who is a Muslim, who is an atheist, whatever. We're talking about that individual person. And I think that's how the Vedanta can be universalized and made practical. So here are some ideas which I have shared with you. And in that is some principles that can be applied. How we can do it in a very practical, formal, systematic way is for people who can work on them and devise a set of tools which can be shared with others and they can utilize in their own life. What we plan to do is set up a digital platform through which all these teachings can be made available on a smartphone, whatever, and people can access them and start applying themselves. They go there, they go deeper, then they might find this much more to them than this physical, mental being. At the core of our being, we have a whole infinite ocean of power and goodness and glory. And may the Divine Lord, who is incarnated as Sri Ramakrishna, the Divine Mother, for the purpose of helping us to manifest the Divine within us, guide us towards the glory. So that is my prayer to him, and that's the challenge in front of us.
Thank you.